This is Reno Lovison, executive producer at ChicagoBroadcastingNetwork.com, and I'm happy to introduce guest theater reporter Rikki Lee Travolta. This is part 2 that we condensed and edited from an interview Rikki conducted with actor, writer, and director Ronni Marmo, who's currently in Chicago starring in 2 plays. In part 1, we heard about Bill W. and Dr. Bob. In this episode, we will hear about I'm Not a Comedian, I'm Lenny Bruce, both on stage at the Biograph Theater through April 2024, with a possible extension. The highly creative PR professional Rikki Lee Travolta is a stage actor who's also appeared and worked behind the scenes in numerous TV productions. He's the host of a weekly podcast, It's Showtime with Rikki Lee, that can be found at Spotify or wherever you prefer to listen to podcasts. Let's listen to an excerpt from Rikki's interview with Ronni Marmo talking about the play I'm Not a Comedian, I'm Lenny Bruce.
Today, my guest is actor and director Ronni Marmo. Ronni will be appearing as the title figure in the smash hit I'm Not a Comedian, I'm Lenny Bruce. Lenny Bruce is an iconic figure, and after hearing Ronnie's very informed and educated take on this legend and some of the star power involved in the development process, you won't want to miss this amazing show. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah. I'm Not a Comedian. I'm Lenny Bruce is obviously the story of the great comedian Lenny Bruce, who died in 1966. He was the first comic, for those who don't know, he was the first comic to be arrested, or I should say the last comic to be arrested for word crimes in this country for saying curse words on stage. They arrested him, and he was sentenced to 4 months on Rikers Island for words, and never actually did the time. They busted him on what they called obscenity, and which was, kind of ridiculous. And that's why if you're a George Carlin fan, you see he directly took over for Lenny Bruce when Lenny passed, and he handed the microphone to him. But anyway, it's a wonderful show. It's not a comedy. It's a tragedy, but it's the funniest tragedy you'll see. It's very funny. But Lenny's life was tragic, and so he was a heroin addict. He went through a lot, and he fought free speech all the way to the Supreme Court, and he lost. The great Joe Mantegna directed the show, and this is my 4th time back in Chicago with the shows because I love the Chicago audiences, and they seem to like Lenny, so it's wild,
And Chicago is such a unique town. Long before I settled here, I'd been here on tour like yourself, and it's just a fun town to come to. Is there anything that strikes you that you look forward to coming to Chicago for?
Oh, so much. I mean, I've made some lifelong friends here, legit friends, people that I still talk to when I'm not here. There's something about this sophisticated theater town. There's this Midwestern energy, and I feel like the good people of Chicago want you to succeed. They expect greatness, but they want you to succeed. And so that's very different than other cities I've been to. I love the food. I love the people. I love the town. I love the theater. I love, there's just something about this place that really sits well with me, Really.
Now, getting back to the show, that I'm Not a Comedian, I'm Lenny Bruce. It sounds like Lenny Bruce is a character well, not a character, a person that you really admire. And, that there's a reason why you chose him. What is it? What's the connection?
When I set out to do this show, it was really interesting because what happened is a friend of mine, Charlie Brill, he's an old school comic. Charlie came to me and said, "Do you know who Lenny Bruce was?" And I said, "Well, I know his name, but he died well before I was born, so not really. I know George and Richard Pryor." And he said, "Well, you remind me of Lenny." And I said, "So I did it." So he said, "I want you to do this other show." And it took him 2 years to talk me into it because I was nervous. I thought, well, Lenny would be like 75 now and living in Los Angeles. All his friends are still alive. So I can't do a show about Lenny Bruce. I mean, I care about what the reviewers say, but I really care what his friends say. And so after 2 years of him beating me into the ground, I did the show. It was called Lenny's Back and Boy Is He Pissed. That was the name of the show. And it was funny. And it was good. And it really turned me on to this great man. And I didn't know much about him before that. And then after my research and then getting on stage, I fell in love with this guy, and flaws and all. I mean, he was not a perfect human being, but who amongst us is, you know? And so I loved what he stood for and what he fought for. And so eventually I went, but I wasn't doing his material in the play. So eventually I went to the writer and I said, "Hey, can we put the material?" And he says, "Well, I don't have the rights for that." And so I said, "Okay, I'm gonna write my own." So I set off to write my own, and I got the rights to all his material. And off I went. And it took me 5 years to write this. And we opened 6 years ago. And I found this piece that I care about so much, and so do others. And I guess I'm doing a good job because all his friends come and they cry and they go, "Lenny," and they kiss me and, "Oh, my friend, I miss you," that kind of stuff. So that to me is the ultimate, sign.
And you have a very notable director. How did that come about?
Well, Joe's a mentor of mine, and he's been for many years. And I love this guy, and on and off the stage, I love him. And I came to him. I knew that I needed somebody who I really admired and respected to direct this, but I also knew I need somebody who would direct with a gentle hand, and then I would also be my best every time I showed up for rehearsal. And to have Joe there, I didn't want to waste his time, and so I did my very best every time. And I reached out to him. I said, "Joe, I have this script, and I want to see you might have an interest in directing me." And he asked me to read it for him, and I read it for him. And then once he saw it, he said, "Yeah, this is the real deal. Let's do it." And so he was on board, and the rest is history.
Tell me about his directing style. What did he bring out of you? What you had the clay. You were the clay. You had the story. You're the talent. How did he mold you?
You know, it's interesting. Joe, like I said, he led with a gentle hand. We would be in rehearsal and he'd say, "Hey, you've been standing there too long. Cross over there." "But Joe, this is boring. Come on, I'm just standing." He goes, "No, I'm riveted. You have no idea." So a lot of it became about trusting Joe and the journey and the process. And I would say if I had to give you one thing that made the whole thing very special, because of who he is, I didn't ever want to disappoint him or let him down.
Yeah.
And so I showed up every day with my best. I think if I had one of my schmucky friends direct it, I might be like, not that I would phone it in. I would never phone it in, but I might maybe not reach as deep this afternoon because I have a headache, whatever. But when Joe's there, you're like, this is it. This is it. I got to do my best. And so he was amazing. And when you trust somebody like that, they're so smart, and you go, "Joe, just tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it." And only once or twice I was like, "Please, Joe, I don't want to do that." Because when you write something, it's really hard to get out of the way. And a lot of times when you see actors do these pieces that they wrote, I don't care what they say, it's very hard to be directed. Because when you were putting it on page, you were already directing yourself. You knew what you were going to do with this, with that, with this. So I knew I needed someone that I just had the most respect for. It just felt right.
And the Lenny Bruce show is also going to be playing at the Biograph Theater, and it is opening March 14th and running through April 12th. And that one, the Lenny Bruce, is running mostly on Thursdays and Fridays, and then Bill W. and Dr. Bob is going to be mostly Saturdays and Sundays, but there are some Thursdays and Fridays. Are there websites where there's information available on these shows?
Absolutely. If you go to Bill W. and Dr. Bob onstage.com, and then you go to lennybruceonstage.com.
Ronnie, it's been an absolute pleasure spending this time with you. I look forward to seeing the shows. Great success to you.
Thank you so much, Rikki. It was really nice to connect with you. I appreciate the time.
You've been listening to It's Showtime with Rikki Lee, your backstage pass to all things entertainment.
Thanks to Rikki Lee Travolta for allowing us to excerpt a portion of his interview with Ronni Marmo. We've elected to split this into two segments. Part 1 was devoted to the play Bill W. and Dr. Bob. In this episode, Rikki and Ronnie talked about I'm Not a Comedian, I Am Lenny Bruce. Both plays are running in tandem at the Biograph Theater on Lincoln Avenue through April 2024, with a possible extension. For ticket information, visit Bill W. and Dr. Bob onstage.com or lennybruceonstage.com. To hear the entire interview with Rikki and Ronnie, visit Rikki's website, lifeandtimes.biz, or check out his podcast, It's Showtime with Rikki Lee, at Spotify, or wherever you prefer to listen to podcasts. I'll have all these links posted on our website at chicagobroadcastingnetwork.com. By the way, Lenny Bruce was known to appear at the iconic Mr. Kelly's on Rush Street. To learn more about that venue, look for our podcast review of the documentary Live at Mr. Kelly's. To get yourself further immersed into the mid-century entertainment scene, consider visiting the Mr. Kelly's exhibit going on now at Chicago's Newberry Library, featuring periodic showings of the film. This is Reno Lovison, executive producer at ChicagoBroadcastingNetwork.com, reminding you to like and subscribe to our podcast to stay up to date with events and interesting topics related to our kind of town, Chicago. As always, if you need audio or video assistance for your organization, take a look at renoweb.net.